Now let's talk about time intelligence. Time intelligence is best used in the tabular model as demonstrated in a previous section. Here, we're able to create new measures like year-to-date, quarter-to-date, month-to-date, and these are some of the most commonly used time intelligence functions. There are about 20 to 30 more that can be used once the date table is marked for the model. Then you're able to look at previous period. There's functions that can retrieve the same measure as the current context, but say for the previous year, or you can specify how many years back. With the current to-date value and the previous year value, you now have the ability to compute the difference growth percentage and place a KPI of that growth percentage. This is a very powerful and often overlooked functionality that is very simple to use in a tabular model. Some other type functions that we'll take a look at is the switch function. This can be used in place of a nested if. In this example, you see if size S, replace it with small, else if size M, replace it with medium, else if size L, and I think you get the picture. It's hard to string these together and know how many in parentheses you're going to need to use. So with the switch, you can actually use that abbreviation to description text and replace with a more readable statement. Here you see switch open parentheses size S small, M medium, and so forth without stringing ifs together. Math functions like rounding are available, and there's various ways of simply rounding and using this function to look up or down, look at a ceiling as well as a floor, and have synonyms of those like mround and trunk. The next set of functions manipulate string values. We can concatenate text together, find an occurrence of a string and another string, or look at the left or right set of characters, and many, many more. Next, we're going to demonstrate some of these other functions. The first one we'll look at are the time intelligence, which we'll look in the model itself. So I'm going to launch SQL Server Data Tools, and then I'm going to open up a previously created project that we've been working on. Next, I'm going to go to the tab with the Internet Sales, and before that, I'll unpin the Properties and Solution Explorer. We'll go to Internet Sales and scroll to the right. Here we have various measures that have been created like Internet Sales. To the left here we have Internet year-to-date total sales. Here in the calculation you can see that we're using the calculate function with Internet Sales, which is a measure, and then we're passing it the dates YTD and the date table. This will give us the year-to-date sales at any point in time. So in order to look at that, I'm going to go to the Model menu choice and Analyze in Excel. When Excel opens up, we're going to be able to slice and dice by that year-to-date total sales. So I'm going to place that on my pivot table, and then I need to go to the date and look at the hierarchy YQMD. And here it's able to show me the year-to-date sales, which is actually the total for that year. But if I drill into one of the years, I'll see quarter by quarter the summation of sales, and if I drill into one of those quarters, I can see month by month that sales. Now let's return to SQL Server Data Tools and go to the next calculated column. Here we have previous sales amount, and in here we again use the calculate function. We'll pass it our expression, which is Internet Sales, and then we use dates year to date, but we're going to pass in it the previous year sales amount along with that date column. That's going to give us this Internet previous sales amount for the year. We'll go look at that in Excel now. Here we could just click on Internet previous year sales and then drill up into just the years. And here you can see the 43,000 is from 2010 that's now labeled in 2011. And with this, now we can calculate even more. We could look at our growth over those years and see that we could say if the previous years, then put internet sales minus previous divided by previous, or put a blank there if there's a problem with the previous internet sales. That way we don't get a division by 0. Let's go back to our Excel, stretch this out a little, and find that growth. And as you can see now, we see the growth year over year. And the first one is kind of an anomaly because there really wasn't much to the previous year's sales. But here you can see a decrease, a large increase, and a further decrease. We can even add to this internet sales a KPI where we want to look at something like, let's have an absolute value of 10% growth. Then we can set an upper and lower level. Actually, we need to make that as a decimal. And we can say the lower is maybe a negative 0.2. And then on our top, maybe really good growth would be something like 25%. We can select what icon we want and click OK, save our work, and go back to the Excel spreadsheet, and we can see our KPI. Before we do that, let's go ahead and refresh all. Make sure we got the right one. And here, the GDM, or Internet Sales Growth, we can actually look at the goal or the status. I'm going to place the status out there, take the previous and current years, and then you can see green as a good growth, the negative 17 is on kind of the target, and then the 179 green, but the negative 99.7 as decreasing down. So that's how we're able to use some time intelligence functions. Next, we're going to look at rounding. So I'm going to minimize Excel and minimize our SQL Server Data Tools and launch Management Studio. Once this launched, I'm going to connect to my Analysis Services instance and drill into the database and create a new query window. Here I have a previously created round text file that will show me some of the rounding. Here, what I'm going to do is copy this script and paste it. I'm going to remove the second calculation, make sure this one works, yes, and then actually take out the rounding part as another calculation. So here I'm going to take out the round and see if this runs correctly. Nope, I got one too many parentheses. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and remove that. Okay, make sure it works again. Alright, so if I take the round off, I should just get a string like 0.4186. Now if I put that round back on, it's going to do your common rounding, which is round to that decimal place. But you also have some other rounding like round up, where it'll always round those values up. And if you notice this Meta Philip, the male with 0.4, you'll see his will be 0.41 in the second rounding. So you can see there's various ways to do the rounding. And this particular one rounded up rather than using the cutoff at 5. And again, there's other rounding functions including ceiling, floor, mRound, and trunk. Next, as we look more into the DAX language, we're going to go over the many-to-many relationship. Unlike the multidimensional cube, the tabular model has no relationship you can designate as many-to-many. The many-to-many relationship does not exist in the normal way in the diagram view for a tabular model. There is only one, and it's the one-to-many relationship. You have to create many one-to-many combinations for the measure section to use DAX. That helps you get the values as related to a many-to-many relationship. The only method currently available is DAX. First, a new measure is created in a fact table or bridge table in the many-to-many relationship. This new measure is simply a count and it can be hidden if necessary. Then you actually have to recreate the internet sales or some other measure by using a filter to look if that count is greater than 0. But the future is bright, and with the release of the many-to-many relationship and Power BI in the cloud and Power BI in the desktop, we know that this will come into the next version of the SQL Server analysis services. The first step is to add the tables to the model. This is no different than in previous modules. The additional step will be to make sure the one-to-many relationships are created if they do not exist after adding the new tables. To create the relationship in our example, we're going to have to create a new column called sales key. That is a combination of the primary key in the fact internet sales and fact internet sales reason, because a relationship cannot be but between one column in each table. The primary key in these two fact tables is 2 columns. You can't create a relationship in tabular between the 2 tables if there's more than 1 column in the relationship. The new count is created in the bridge table. Here the example is number of sales reason. Then we create a new sales measure that is related to the internet sales through the sales reason. And here we give a filter to see if that number of sales reasons is greater than 0. Next, we're going to look at a demonstration of the many-to-many relationship. First, we'll launch SQL Server Data Tools and bring up a previously created project. This is one that we've been working at throughout this series. Once the project is open, we're going to open up the model and import new tables. These tables are going to be coming from an existing connection in our tabular model. So we'll go to the Model menu choice, Existing Connections, and click Open. We'll select from existing list of tables, and we're going to pick DIM Sales Reason and Fact Internet Sales Reason. We're going to create a friendlier name for both of these tables. And then we're actually going to filter some of the data inside because we do not need all the columns in each of these tables. Here we actually need all the related columns in the fact table, but in the DIM sales reason we'll go ahead and remove some of the keys like the alternate key and the sales reason type. Here we'll click OK, keep the sales reason, and click Finish. Once the two have been imported, then we can modify them a little bit further. The first thing we need to do is go to Internet Sales, to the Properties, and click on Source Data for it. Here the SQL statement is going to need an additional column, and we can see it created as a cast of sales order number along with a cast of sales order line number, both converted to varchar 20s and concatenated with a dash. Next, we'll take the same text and we're going to put it into our internet sales reason. We'll go back to our tabs, go to internet sales reason, property, and then source data. Here we'll change from table preview to query editor, and we're going to put a comma in this new column. Then we'll validate to make sure our syntax is correct and click OK, and then we should see the new column inside of our table. Now we can join the sales key from the internet sales reason to our internet sales. So I'm going to click on the diagram view. Once a diagram view comes up, I'm going to zoom out, and we should see our sales reasons to our right. Since they're new tables, they've been put to the right. We're going to put them a little bit closer to our internet sales and make them fit a little bit tighter than what they are now. Then we're going to zoom back into that area, and we should see that sales key in internet sales and the sales key in internet sales reason. So I'm going to drag and drop them across, and it should create my one-to-many relationship between those tables, which this is our bridge or fact table of the many-to-many relationship, and that links the sales reason name to our internet sales. Here we might want to hide the sales reason key and rename the name to something a little bit more friendly. We'll call it sales reason and take the name off. In the bridge table, we're going to go ahead and hide most of these keys. We'll save our work and go back to the grid view. Next, inside of the internet sales reason, we need to create two new measures. The first one we're going to call number of sales reasons. And the main purpose of this new measure is to indicate when a combination of internet sales and the bridge table actually have some sales reason. And here we're going to just call count rows of internet sales reason. And our IntelliSense helps us a good bit there, and hit the enter key. Next, we need to create a new measure that's called internet sales many to many to kind of separate it from the other internet sales. And here we're going to use the calculate function that'll help us with the table context in order to cross the different tables. Then what we're going to do is sum from the internet sales the sales amount, internet sales, then sales amount, and then we're going to filter it. So there's our expression in calculate. In our first filter, we're going to use the filter function and look at internet sales reason and look at this new measure we created. And when that measure is greater than 0, it indicates that you should sum up that internet sales. We'll hit the enter key there and go ahead to save our work, go to the model, and go analyze in Excel. Once we get this in Excel, then we can look at the results of this sales measure. So we'll go to our internet sales reason. Here's our internet sales many to many, and we'll also put internet sales out there. And then what we want to do is go to the new dimension that we created called sales reason and drag that to our rows. And here you see, since there is no many-to-many relationship, internet sales is going to come back as the total because there's no direct relationship to sales reason. But for the new measures we created, we'll get those sales amount. Also, you'll notice if we do a sum of those columns in Excel, they will be greater than our total sales. And that's because more than one sales reason can be related to individual sales in the internet sales fact table. Next, we're going to talk about reporting a tabular model. Reporting in tabular is similar to reporting in a multidimensional cube. We have reporting services and Excel pivot tables in addition to a new reporting tool called PowerView. PowerView can be integrated into SharePoint while installing reporting services, or it comes available to you in Excel 2013. With the upcoming release of Power BI in the cloud and Power BI desktop, you will soon have additional reporting and dashboard tools. To report in Excel through pivot tables, you need to connect to the Analysis Services tabular model and select a model or perspective. Then select Dimension Attributes or Hierarchies for the rows. Here we've selected the Product by Category hierarchy, which enables drilling down the hierarchy to subcategory and products. Next, we select an attribute or hierarchy for the columns. This example uses the YQMD hierarchy for the order table. And it is also enabled for drilling from year to quarter to month and then all the way down to date. Then we need a measure for the value, or you can select more than one measure. The measure selected in this example is the gross profit margin ratio. PowerView connects in this example through the data ribbon in Excel. While in Excel, you can connect to a tabular model through this data ribbon. Then, when prompted for Import Data dialog, you will select the Power View report rather than a pivot table, and then it launches the Power View Designer and Preview mode. Again, the Design and Preview are together, and this interactive tool has many graphs and table styles. Next, we'll look at a demonstration of using Pivot Table and Power View. First, we'll launch Excel 2013, and once that's loaded, we'll create a new workbook. From there, we'll pick a cell to start from. Here, I selected B2. From the Data ribbon, go to Get External Data, From Other Sources, and From Analysis Services. Here, we provide an instance name. We always use Windows authentication to connect to an Analysis Services database. We'll click Next and select the database we want to report against. Here we have an option of the whole model or just a perspective. We'll select Internet Sales Perspective. And then we'll take the defaults for the Save Data Connection file, and we'll let it overwrite the existing one. We'll select Pivot Table Report and click OK. Here we want Internet Sales for our value, YQMD for our columns, and to the product dimension we'll pull product categories to our rows. We'll hide the pivot table fields, and we can see now we can drill into a year to see quarters along with months. We're also able to drill into the bikes and mountain bikes. This is a great example of using a pivot table with an Analysis Services database. Next, I'll create a new tab. I'll go to the B2 section and go back to the Data tab and go through the same steps for a Power View report. I'll select the instance, click Next, select the database and the Internet Sales Perspective, click Next and Finish. I'll let it overwrite the existing one, but this time I want Power View Report. When I click OK, it launches the Power View Designer and Preview. Here I can go to the Internet Sales Fact Table and select Internet Sales. It'll give me just a simple table. In this simple table, I'm able to change some of the characteristics, like the size. I can also change the table type. Next, I'm going to drag out the Internet Sales again to a separate area, drag this down low, and change this to a pie chart. The pie chart needs something to slice and dice with, so I'll scroll down the list and go to Product, and then I'll find the category. When I put the category into the slices, it doesn't really read too well because most of the sales are bikes. So I'm going to take that off and I'm going to use color. Here I get a wide range of values. If I click on one of the slices, you will see in the top the Internet Sales change. It shows just the Internet Sales for blue. Now I can also drag out other measures like the gross profit margin, KPI, and here I can create a bar chart and then add something to be able to slice it, like year. And here I have a stacked bar chart. I can do the same thing here that I did with the pie chart, and I could change my selections. So if I click on the purple, which is 2014, it'll affect all the others. If I click outside of any of those, then it should go back to normal and have everything selected. So each one of the graphs you put out interactively is connected to another. The charts are line, scatter, pie. You can do column charts as well as bar, and you can even have tables like a matrix where you have columns and rows just like a pivot table.